Hi there, I'm going to show you a few tips on how you can drape a simple t-shirt dress today. I wanted something just really fast and easy to make. I decided to use this stripe fabric, which I got at a resale shop. There's maybe 2 yards or less of it, so it's not a big piece. And I love the little stripes, but stripes can be hard to match and that creates some problems. So I decided to drape it instead of doing a regular pattern because I thought it'd be easier and faster. And I thought I'd give you some tips. So one of the things you can do is if you have a mannequin, great. If you don't, you can have someone actually drape it onto you and pin it to your clothing. That does work, but you need a partner for that. For this tutorial, the easiest thing to do is, so I have my fabric on the fold, and I put the fold here at the center front, and I'm going to leave it one piece all the way to the back. So my selvages are here at the center back. And the first thing I did was to pin, just put a few pins in along the selvage, making sure that the stripes are matching. That kind of hold it all in place while I'm working with the fabric. And my selvage is going to be cut off in my seam allowance. So I moved that whole thing about 1/2 inch to the opposite side of my center back where the seam is. So I just put a few pins in it to hold it there, and I forgot my pin cushion. Hold on. Okay. So because this is a loose fitting item and it's not going to have a side seam, just going to have the folded fabric at the side, I don't need to do a lot of work, but I do need to have plenty of room at the shoulder to create a shoulder seam. So I pulled the fabric up high enough so that I can have some room to cut off the seam here. And I put a couple of pins in it just to kind of hold it, but you want to make sure your pins are over the seam where the mannequin seam is. Actually, now that I look at it, I didn't pin it exactly right, so I'm going to change the angle of that a little bit. And I'm pinning through all layers on the front and back. Okay, and I can kind of feel where that seam is with my fingers, and I can tell that my pins are just above it. So that's good, that's what I want. Then for the neckline, so you can kind of see I pinned the fold right at the center front here, and my neckline is going to get cut away. I kind of stretched it around here so that it was snug. If you leave too much fabric there and then cut away for a rounded neckline, you're gonna have a lot of gaping at the neck. So I kind of tightened it up a little bit at the shoulder to avoid that. So the next step is to decide where I want my neckline to be. Generally speaking, you wanna go at least 3 fingers down from the base of the neck to give yourself enough room. I also am draping on a much smaller size form. So this is a size 8 dress form. I usually wear a 20. There's a big difference in size there, so I give myself extra room when I'm doing my draping. And you can use a piece of ribbon to mark your look, or you can use pins. I just have some pins here. I was looking around for some ribbon, but I guess I don't have any handy. So just kind of get an idea of where you want that to be. It's going to be a raglan sleeve. Sorry, dolman sleeve. So I don't want to go too far over. This is about where the princess seam line is, where I'm pinning it. And so I'd say that looks about right for me. It's kind of a scoop neck. And then I will finish the neck with a piece of fold over elastic. So now we want to go to the back. The back neck I want to be a little higher because I like a little more coverage to the back. And I'm just going to mark that there. I'm going to trim my seam allowance for the sleeve. That is where I want it, and I'm going to just put few more pins in there before I cut it. The stripes actually help because I can pin all the way down the one stripe. And when I sew it, if I sew right on that stripe, it'll be a nice, even, straight seam. So, with that, I'm going to give myself about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm cutting through all layers. Okay, and now I can see a little bit better where my neck seam is. I'm going to make sure that my pins line up. The pins have to line up from the front neck to the back. So you might have to readjust them a little bit. And then I can okay. Then I'm ready to go ahead and shape and cut the front neck. Now with this, I am leaving it in a 1/2 inch seam allowance here as well. I can always adjust the neck a little bit if I need to, but I'm pretty confident that this will work. I'm going to do the same thing in the back. Another way to do this is to mark it with pins and then take the fabric off the form and use a French curve and a marking pencil to mark in those lines where you want them. But I like to live dangerously, so. Okay, so that looks good. So the only other thing I have to do then is to establish my armhole. Now this type of sleeve is cut in one with the body, so there will be extra fabric under the arm. I am not concerned about that for me personally, but if you don't like that look, you can start with your pins here and just pin in a bit of a curve. Where you're going to have a seam. In this case, it would not be, you would have to have a seam at the side if you're going to do it this way. But if you pinned in like this, an underarm area, and then just taper it down to the hem, you can do that, and you'll have a little bit more shaping. So just be sure that you have enough room in your armhole, and the way to do that is to think about this will be double, so for the front measurement and back measurement, if you can measure that, measure the circumference of your bicep, make sure that it's large enough to go all the way around your arm comfortably, and then we'll just do a simple narrow hem. So for me, I think I'm not going to do the underarm shaping. As I said, I'm just going to mark where I'd like my armhole to be. Right about here. I don't want it too low. I don't want it a lot lower than my bust point, because then you'll be able to see your bra underneath. When you move your arm, you'll just see the bra sticking out there. So I want to keep it up a bit higher, and if I hold out my fabric like this, you can kind of see it's right about at the bust point, and I think that's probably as low as I want to go. So here, I am going to just trim down the side. There we go. And that will be finished with a simple rolled hem on my machine. And then we'll put fold over elastic around the neck, front and back neck, and there'll be a seam all the way down the center back. And that's it. So I'm going to leave all this extra fullness in here. Now, if you prefer a more fitted look, this I want mine to be just real loose and comfortable, but you can do a long dart in the front if you prefer a more fitted look. I probably do it right around where the princess seam is on the form, so you could take in a dart there and just taper it to nothing at the hip. And you could also do the same thing in the back if you prefer. You could do that, or even put a piece of elastic across the back for gathers. That would work too. But that's it. That's the dress. It's super easy to drape, very simple style. I'm gonna finish the sewing and I'll post again so you can see what it looks like. Thanks. Have a great day.